Hey, what's going on, everybody? Got another video here for you, and this one I'm pretty excited about. Obviously, I'm usually excited about most videos I'm doing, but this one's been a long time coming. I've had this knife for a little while now, and obviously if you've been watching some other vids, you know I've been behind in making some of the knives I've gotten in recently, or a little longer than recently, but I just hadn't been backlogged with making videos. But this one I also was putting off a little bit because I knew I had so much to talk about, and I was probably going to become more of a story time video. So I apologize for all the talking that's going to go on, but I have a lot of things to say, and they're all positive. Very happy with this, and very pleased with all the work that LionWerks did on this knife. LionWerks is the one that did the modding. This originally was a CRKT Razel Production Knife, based on the John Graham design. And before I get this pocket clip all fingerprinted up, I thought I'd do a little close-up of that so you can see that. That's just awesome Damascus pocket clip there. So I got this production CRKT with the full intent of wanting to get modded. And the person that did this awesome work, like I said, is LionWerks, or as you may know him from the past, I believe he was Lionhearted86. And then I think also most of you guys know his first name, it's Fernando. So he did an awesome job with this and awesome communication the whole time. It took a little longer than he thought to get this done, and we'll get into that. But obviously he was communicating with me the whole time and worked with me extremely well, and actually did me the bonus of making this Damascus pocket clip. Originally, I don't know what this was originally going to be. It's probably just he's going to make it out of titanium or some kind of basic pocket clip. But he ended up throwing this bonus just because he knew it took a lot longer to get this done. And all the time and effort he put into this was just crazy too, beyond what he originally thought he had to do to it. But to make this awesome lion's tooth shaped Damascus pocket clip. So obviously one of the main reasons I wanted to get this knife is because I love the blade shape on here. I love the John Graham chisel tip but V ground blade, where it's ground on both sides, and it's just a cool looking knife, just very, very different looking than anything else you see out there. And I wanted to look like his customs, which were a lot of times when I was looking at them had this flip-flop look to it, where he'd have a bolster material and a main scale material, and then on the opposite side reverse them. So on this one you can see what we did is the original knife came with just a terrible looking micarta scale. Actually, I think when I first saw it, I didn't think it was that bad, but once I saw LionWerks had taken it off, and he showed me pictures and stuff like that, and even when I was like handling it a little bit more, it was just, pretty cheap feeling. So now you have this translucent green C-tek and the Beyond Wood Products purple and black scale, which has a lot more purple in it and really pops in real life versus some of the pictures that was originally sent to me. So I was very thoroughly and happily surprised when I got it. And you can see it's the opposite here, where it has the Beyond Wood Products scale for the bolster and then the C-tek for the main large scale there. Now, the big thing with this is that this knife originally was just a folding knife. And now the fingerprints are going to get on that pocket clip, so sorry about that. Where this piece was not here, the scales came up and over, and all you had were the thumb studs to open it. So you could do your basic slow opening on it, or you could do, a little flick open like that. But now, the main thing that I wanted done, beyond all the cosmetic work and the scale work and just really classing it up, was to convert it to a flipper. So what Fernando was able to do was put the tang of the blade here, cut it out from the scales, and so that with a little bit of wrist action, you can actually do it as a flipper now. So I'll show that to you here. And it makes a great sound. Now, that is not just about cutting a scale down, because once again, this was a very, very inexpensive knife, and dare I say, a cheap knife. This was around, I think, 23 bucks, the production version. And so it came with really cheap plastic washers inside of it, and it had the awful locks system from CRKT, which is this switch thing that goes back and forth, which once you open the knife, if you pushed it back or down, it would hold the liner lock locked in that position. And it just was in the way, it was bulky, it didn't work that great, because if you're working on the knife, you're almost always going to bump it with your thumb anyways. And so there was a lot of work that had to be done. The other thing is, when I got it, anytime you open this thing even a little hard, if I didn't have the flipper and I was just flicking it out like this, every time I go to close it, it would be way to the left, way to the right, it would rub, it was just, you know, not a well-made thing. And maybe that was just this particular knife that I got. But obviously what Fernando had to do once he got it, and what I asked him to do, is please replace all the internal mechanism workings, meaning get rid of the plastic washers, delete the lock system, get some phosphor bronze washers in here to make the action that much more smoother, and also to set up the centering of the knife through actually balancing these out and making them out of a good material like the phosphor bronze washers. And when I got the knife back, it actually was perfectly centered. If you look now, it might be a touch off, and that's only because when I got it back from Fernando, the action was a little stiff. And I asked him, you know, what should I do? Should I, you know, put a lubrication in it, or should I loosen the pivot? And he said, don't lube it up or anything. Just give the pivot a slight loosening, and that was all it needed. So now you can see that, you know, it's very smooth now, closing and opening, and it just set it off center a touch, but nothing where it's going to affect the knife. And then you can see here, obviously flipping it open, no problem with that either. Now, here comes the story time, and I'll do some more close-ups while we're talking about this. The other thing that Fernando did was he stonewashed the blade, which was really nice because it was a very factory satin on here. And with his stonewash, you know, you have this nice look to it where it's still shimmery but has the rugged use look to it. And then has his lion's tooth edge both on the main bevel and on the chisel edge, or, you know, the main edge and the chisel edge. So, the story of this, we'll move some of this out of the way as we're talking about the knife. When I got this, I reached out to several knife pimpers, some that I had worked with in the past, some that I knew of, including Fernando, but to be honest with you, Fernando was one of the last ones I reached out to, and not because of any reason for his skills, but because I hadn't done much work with him or knew that much about him in the knife pimp world. I knew some other names a lot more familiar, or that I've been seeing more YouTube videos on. And the response back to all of my requests, which were mainly through email to these guys, was, no, can't do it, nope, not up my alley right now, or some of them were making that change from being knife modders or knife pimpers to full-time knife makers, which I understand, so they didn't want to take on any new work or any work that was very dissimilar from other knives they worked on. Like if they mainly did Spyderco Southards, or they mainly did Spyderco paramilitaries, or they mainly did Boker Quakens, whatever it was, they just wanted to keep doing mods to stuff they felt comfortable with, and none of them had really ever worked with this knife before. And the big request was to convert it to a flipper, as many of you had seen a year and a half ago or a year back when the Quakens came out and they didn't have the flippers originally. Many knife modders were doing that flipper conversion. But I sent an email to Fernando as well, saying the same request. You know, obviously very polite and courteous. Hey, I've seen your work. I was hoping to see if you would like to take on this project. And he got back to me right away. He was like, hey, just give me a call. Or he was like, what's your number? I think I gave him, sent him my cell number, and he literally called that day, that evening, and just wanted to discuss it. And so I kind of told him what I wanted. Obviously the flipper conversion, the internal workings all being converted over to the phosphor bronze washers, deleting the lock system, doing a flip-flop look on here. And then the pocket clip was originally a tip-down pocket clip, and then had the John Graham type sideways pocket clip. But that pocket clip was awful. It was just not made right, because when you put it in your hand, it dug into your finger. So I was like, look, whatever scale work you do, don't worry about leaving that thing in there, having to figure out how to work it in. Just get rid of it and make a regular pocket clip for me. And I just thought he'd make like a titanium pocket clip, or maybe something out of the materials that he was using. So sent the knife out to him, and he got it. And he kind of said before I did that was, hey, look, I have a lot of work going on right now. Probably 5 to 8 weeks is going to be the earliest that I can even take a look at this knife. Are you okay with that? Setting the precedent, letting me know a time frame. Very appreciative of that. I said, yeah, no problem. I have other stuff going on. Take your time with it, and just let me know, in that time frame what your prognosis is. So between 5 and 8 weeks later, I got a text from him, and he said, look, your knife's just coming on my table. The first thing I'm going to do is see if I can do this flipper conversion, because I don't want to waste your time. Are you okay? Like, look, if I mess up this knife and there's no way to do a flipper conversion, I just want to get your okay with that. I was like, dude, no problem. It's a $20 knife. Do what you need to do to it. So he worked on it that week, and he sent me actually sent me a little video of it just with the flipper conversion. He's like, look, I was able to delete the lock system. I was able to get enough off the liners and the scales, because he was just using the original scales to cut down and work out, that we can do it. He's like, look, it's not going to be one where you can just pull on this and it's going to open. But if you give it some wrist action, it's going to fly open for you. Plus, he said, you know, obviously after doing the internal workings, the opening and closing a knife and obviously the steady centering of it are that much better. It just feels like a much more solid knife now. So like, great. He said, okay, what are the materials that you want for it? So I told him originally I wanted the bolsters and the scales to be lightning strike carbon fiber and toxic green G10. So he placed the order for that, took a week or two to get in. Got them. He contacted me like a few weeks after that and said, look, I got the materials in, but they sent me the wrong stuff. They sent him the green G10, but the carbon fiber was the copper one, not the lightning strike silver one. He said, do you want me to work with that, or do you want me to send it back and get the other stuff? I said, no problem. Send it back, get the other stuff. And so he did that. So another week or two passed, and he got the right stuff in. During this time, he's obviously working on other knives, doing other projects, that kind of stuff. But he was always texting me or calling me, just giving me an update on the knife. So he got the right materials in, started making the scales. And these pieces, the bottom large scales, he didn't really have any issues with. He was able to make these out of both materials, no problem. The bolsters, though, were giving him a lot of issues. And he kind of said, look, I'm going to work on this today or for over the weekend. And then he'd update me like, hey, you know what, it just wasn't working. What was happening was, I believe the toxic green G10, when he was doing the pivots through here, was just cracking and breaking up and brittle and just kept not working and falling apart. I don't know if the lightning strike carbon fiber was giving him the same issue on the other side. I don't recall him talking that much about that. But that was the big issue. So after a while and him pretty much going through almost, I think, the whole piece of G10 that he had to work for on this piece that he'd already had made these pieces out of, he kind of was like, look, Nick, there's no way this is going to work. Are there any other materials you want to work with? And I said, hey, I don't have anything with C-tek on it. So what about that? He's like, let me see what I got. And he actually happened to have some green C-tek. And really what I wanted with this knife was a green color. That was my whole idea. I really wanted to have a knife with some kind of green on it. I didn't have any at the time. And at the same time, he had kind of gone through all the lightning strike carbon fiber on these scales. And I guess they were giving him some kind of issue that they weren't fitting right or going well on the bolsters too. And he said, okay, I have a little bit more that I can try and finish off with. So he was going to try and do the green C-tek and the lightning strike carbon fiber. Now, at that point, obviously it had been a few more weeks since then. He kept staying in touch with me. And what happened was, finally the liners on this thing just went. He had been doing so much either milling or fitting, cutting through, that the liners were pretty much just shot. So he sent me a message. He goes, Nick, I've done so much work to this knife so far that it's just not in good enough shape to send back to you. So he said, you know what, I already ordered a new knife. So he actually bought another one of these himself. You know, there's no more charges to me. There's never any more charge than what my original fee for him to do the work on here was. So there was no additional fee for this Timascus, for him buying a brand new knife for me, and then him doing additional work. And I don't know if he had done any work to the first blade too, or what else he had gone through in this knife. But he bought the brand new knife, got it in. There wasn't enough lightning strike carbon fiber left for here. And he kind of asked, is there any other thing that you're looking for? And I said, well, I don't have a knife with purple on it either. And I thought a purple and green knife would be pretty sick, kind of like a Joker thing or like a Hulk thing, you know, Hulk with the purple pants and green, or Joker with his purple and green, pretty much my favorite villain from the DC universe. So he said, oh, I have this Beyond Wood Product stuff. So he sent me a picture of it. It looked a lot more black than it actually is here in real life. And I was a little worried because I had so many black knives, but I knew that at least on this side, there'd be a lot of the green C-tek. And I said, you know what, how purple does it look? It looks really, there's a lot more purple than what these pictures are doing you justice. So I said, all right, do it. And a few weeks after that, he got it all finished up, sent me a video again. I think he sent me at least 3 or 4, short 30-second videos of the work going on, multiple pictures. I really was never worried or out of contact with him, and that was the biggest takeaway from Fernando. Even though the knife took longer, he was always letting me know what was going on with it, what was the status. Obviously, he did bonuses for me, putting on this clip doing the stonewash the blade, because I never originally asked for anything to be done to the blade. And then also replacing the entire knife pretty much. I don't know what happened to the old parts or anything. Maybe he has like a random extra CRKT blade hanging around his shop. So if anyone needs some work done and they want a free, or not a free, but like a CRKT blade put on something, he could probably work something out for you, I'm sure. I don't want to speak on his behalf, but I'm really pleased with this knife. It just came out awesome. You can see how thick the pieces are on here. And that C-tek really stands out nicely. He did this dovetail work, which I didn't even ask for. Originally I just thought it'd be just a straight line or however he cut it, but he did this nice piece here, and it's very hard to feel the seams. And he's working with, obviously not probably the best stainless steel liners, because this thing is made in China. So he's having to work with somewhat inferior materials to what I'm sure he's used to working with. And he got the whole thing to come out really well. You can see the nice lockup on there. You can see the phosphor bronze washers. So all in all, I highly recommend doing any kind of work with Fernando. He really takes care of you. And the biggest thing to me was just the communication. I rarely had to reach out to him, and if I did, I'd say within a few minutes of me texting him, boom, a text right back. And that's what he liked to communicate with. Lots of guys have different ways. And I ask that of everyone I do work with. What's your best way of communicating? Is it email? Is it a phone call? Is it a text? Is it a Facebook message? Is it an instant message type of thing through Instagram? What's the best way? Because there's so many ways that people are easier to get back and forth with. And with Fernando, it was mainly texting or a phone call. And that was very easy. So I really appreciate it. I want to say thank you to Fernando for this work and this knife, because it really just stands out. I haven't seen anything like it out there. So pretty cool. I don't think he's ever going to do another one because of how much this thing frustrated him. But I did want to show you some size comparisons as well. And I'm going to put on some gloves here because I have a few, or at least actually two knives that have a lot of anodizing on them, on the titanium, and I don't want to have to clean them later. So I'm going to try not to get smudge marks on them. And these are the two other knives I've had modifications done to. I've had a few others, but I've sold some of them. So this is my Quaken that was worked on by Thai Survival. So you can kind of see size comparison there. I didn't want to get all the polish and fingerprints on that. And then this is my District 9, which Thai Survival also did the work on, doing the kind of strider-like flame pattern on the back there, and then bronzing the front scale. But kind of gives you a drop point look against the chisel tip, and then a tanto look, and kind of the longer knives. This is a decently long blade. I think 3.5 or 3 3/4 inch blade, but pretty cool. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to show you too was the cutting of this blade, because when this came, the edge wasn't bad, it wasn't great, but especially the edge on the chisel ground was not good at all. It was pretty much, butter knife sharp, I'd say. So here you go. Get some paper out here. And then to kind of show you just the edge here and kind of how easy it is to puncture. Let's see if we can get that. Even with how sharp this is, you get a little thing started here, goes right through. So really nice job there with the edge. Just a pretty unique piece, I feel, and a lot of work, and the cost for myself, I think, was well worth the value that Fernando put in it, plus the bonus of getting this Timascus clip, which I don't think I had any Timascus before on any of my knives. And it's just a really well done piece there, and I think complements the knife very nicely. And it's just a good size blade too, and it's very sturdy now. I'm not worried at all about the internal mechanics of this knife or holding or locking. It's really well done. So I believe that's everything on this. I just wanted to be thorough with what I covered here, and we'll see if I can do this with the glove on. Yep, there we go. So CRKT Razel LionWerks mod. I'm sure if you even just want to give Fernando a heart attack, call him up and tell him you want one of these done, and he'll probably freak out. But I wish him the best also in his knife making, and really just wanted to say thank you for the awesome communication and the additional bonus work that was done on here. you know, in regards to you understanding the additional time that it took to get this done, and you wanting to make things as perfect as possible. So awesome stuff. There's some pictures of this on my Instagram, and I think that's everything that I had. I actually wrote notes on this this stuff here, so I made sure I covered everything. Probably the first time I've ever done a video where I wrote notes. So if you guys have any questions, comments, thoughts on this, let me know, and I'll get into some more videos hopefully soon. Peace.